What's up, world? We are back again with another edition of Wrapped, where we tackle a lot of things that happened this month, try to get to as many things as we can, but we keep it interesting for y'all. So let's get to it. So we are here, ready to talk about March.
Well, first of all, how was your March, man? It is now April 1st, April Fools. But how was your March?
It was good. I don't do March Madness because I don't care about what I called New Age slavery. This is a whole nother conversation that we could talk about, but I always feel weird that people don't get paid and they televise all these games and stuff like that. And I think that they're making, headways to that. And the word slavery has a lot of connotations. But either way, I don't March Madness is up. So there'll be no March Madness in this March 23. We starting off offending people from the jump. So I love it. Yeah, it was good. I mean, there was a lot of things happening. I was looking forward to this because I felt like coming off of February, we hit a good stride with a bunch of content go, and then this one is about to be interesting.
Very true, very true, very true. So March for me was good. It's actually my birthday month. And I made a promise to myself in the month of March that I have to pick up my frequency at which I attend the gym. And I did do that. But I see that my boy 6ix9ine also had the same thing in mind. Whoo! That boy went to the gym and got worked out.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so funny because this was like trending for like a hot second. And I was like, does anybody really care? But he went toe to toe in... It looked like it could have been a Creed movie, man, and he got tore up.
What do you mean it could? What do you mean it looked like it could have been a Creed movie?
Because the way they beat him, he's like one. I mean, we're not supporting violence here, and but I felt like he kind of had it coming.
Well, it's hard to not support something that someone constantly invites, right? If I keep going out there looking for a certain kind of energy and that energy attracts itself to me, I mean, you kind of got what you were looking for. I thought it was very interesting because the part to me that was very funny about the video, him getting his ass kicked aside, was when they did show the clip and he was like on the floor and the dude did this like weird fake WWE stomp to his stomach and he's spinning around. I was like, what kind of foolery is this? What kind of clown? Dude, I've seen people get jumped. That looked comedic. I mean, the jumpings I've seen looked like somebody's going to get hurt here. Like, we have to stop this. I don't know. Personally, even though no one has come forward to say that this was a fluke or this was a ruse or he was trying to pull the wool over the eyes of people because he's got music coming and he wants to promote something, I still am not of the belief that this is real. I think that this is a complete hoax, even though I guess the guys who did the jumping have been arrested, so it's probably not.
They? Oh.
Yeah, they got arrested. That was the most recent thing that I heard is that they were picked up. Apparently, they identify as guys who are part of the Latin Kings. I don't know how true that is, but
sorry,
what's funny? You gotta tell me.
I don't know. You just said that they identify as I was like, wait, I didn't. I
didn't hear the Latin Kings claim them.
Okay, that was a whole other conversation. Continue. Ignore me.
Yeah, so he got hands and feet put on him. My man, and now he's in Cuba recording music. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. Yeah.
Well, we do have the video. It's gonna be a little bit. It's a little raw. So we want to do the advisory here, but we're gonna play the video real quick. And this was like more like after the jumping.
Yo, homie, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm a fan, bro. Yo, I'm a fan. I'm just saying, bro. I'm a fan, bro. I ain't jumping, bro. I'm just saying. That's crazy. That's crazy.
So, yeah,
yo, son, what is with the shorts?
I mean,
first of all, why are you in the gym with a bubble coat and booty shorts? Like, who does that? I don't Get it, man. Listen, even if you're not 6'9" and you show up at the gym in a bubble and booty shorts, you deserve to get your ass kicked. I'm sorry.
Okay, I mean, listen, people like to be, mobile in the gym. I guess
Mobile?
you want to make sure that the legs are free in case you need to flee. But
Yeah,
in the case of 6'9", it didn't work out. He wasn't able to flee.
I get what he was doing. You ever been to the gym and saw someone on one of the cardio machines with the garbage bag over them because they're trying to sweat? Maybe that's what he was trying to accomplish.
Yeah, but you do that with there's a sweatsuit for that. It's like you buy a sweatsuit.
It's 6'9", man. He's non-conventional. You know how he likes to throw money at all situations? From my understanding, this is actually a very expensive coat. So maybe this is how he gives it up. But
so you threw money at other things instead of getting proper gym attire? I just think
or security.
Yeah, oh, well, let's not even talk about that. Especially knowing when you claim to be hip-hop's bad guy. You're the biggest threat in hip-hop. You're going to go to the gym where people work out. That guy that beat him, he skipped working out that day. I guarantee you. He didn't do any workout because he just beat his ass and went home. And that was it.
My man had the Stone Cold Steve Austin leg brace on,
Bro.
man. Come on, man. You could have taken his knees out or something. You could have bit his ankle. Something, man. You on the floor spinning like a turtle that got caught on its shell. This is embarrassing. But I know you don't want to promote violence or anything, but me personally, I took a great deal of pleasure from this. I hope to see academics next up. You know what? No, I'm not calling that kind of energy. That's not cool. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Is that he realized that what the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did when they learned from a rat was a spin on their shell. So they literally, he was doing what he thought was right.
He took the Master Splinter teachings
the whole
to a
way.
whole new level.
Whole way. Anyway, moving along because we're enjoying this way too much.
A little too much.
We're going to jump into Johanton Majors. Now, if you don't know Johanton Majors, you literally live under a rock. This man has had the hottest run in a long while. From Creed 3, he was also in a couple of the Marvel things. He was in Loki. He was, he had his own thing in Ant-Man.
Yep. He's a superstar.
He's geared to be the next big thing, right? And a couple weeks ago, we saw a story pop up where he was being charged for assault, and everybody was like, this can't be real. Well, there's mixed feelings. I feel like some people were like, see, look, behind every one of these stories, there's a bunch of dirt and someone cleaning it up, versus like other people who are like, they can't believe it is real. So that is the one thing, and it happened right after the Creed release, and it was just like concerning, and it's more as developed. It sounds like now they I guess the charges were dropped.
Yeah. But did you see the text messages?
The text message, and we'll add the text message. The text messages sounds like a cleanup, which concerns you. It makes it feel like not like, just like a misunderstanding. It feels like a cleanup act, and I'm like, somebody jokes and saying like his lawyers are terrible because they should have never released that.
I agree.
The text messages. The text messages make him look more guilty than anything else.
If anything, it proves his guilt, but it seems like the victim is just saying, I'm sorry, I never meant for this. Almost as if the victim is taking the blame. That's what the text messages look like. It's not good at all. They should have never released those text messages. From my understanding, there may be video as well because they were in an Uber, so I don't know if we're going to eventually see video of what took place, but I don't know. This is just bad news, man. And considering, because this is all alleged, considering that this is actually real, that he actually did put his hands on this young lady, this was a bad move. I mean, for someone who is starting to just really expand and blow up, I mean, you could forget about Disney deals. Disney, you know how they give it up. So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But, if you want to go ahead and give us a little glimpse of what's going on with those messages that were revealed, that definitely could help to add a little bit of a layer to this entire thing. When I saw the messages, though, I don't know. Johanton Jonathan, it's not looking good for you, pal. And
It isn't.
whoever his lawyer is, it might be time to seek other counsel.
It's just weird. Like watching the text message is like one of the things that the person said was, "I'm so angry that they did, and I'm sorry you're in this position. We'll make sure nothing happens about this. I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. I only got this. I only just got out of the hospital. Just call me when you're out." And I'm
I
just
don't like how that sounds at
all
all.
of-
I
all of
told
that's-
them it's my fault for trying to grab your phone. So I attempted to grab your phone. You proceeded to beat the living snot out of me. And now, because I know that this could potentially ruin your career, I'm going to say I told them it's my fault for attempting to grab your phone. I'm sorry, but grabbing someone's phone does not justify physical assault. So, especially when you're talking about a situation like a man hitting a woman. I mean, don't get me wrong. In neither situation, even if the tables were turned and it was a woman hitting a man, it's not justified. But a man hitting a woman is even less justifiable when it's something like her attempting to grab your phone.
Yeah, and I would say if this is true, and I mean, if it is really what it is, what we all believe it to be, I think we can label him corny more than Michael B. And I'm making a slight plug to the Juxtaposed conversation that we had a couple weeks. Selfish plug. It's going to be downstairs. Down below. Anyway, but yeah, no, I think it's really corny. If that's really the case, it's not a good look.
Interesting.
Sad times.
Yeah.
But hopefully it's not a hopefully this is really as a cause of the court of popular opinion, and there's really more facts that we're not aware of. But right now it feels wrong. It feels like something happened. So
It does, and we'll just have to wait to see what comes of it. Like I said, so far it's mostly alleged, so we'll just have to, I guess, hold back opinion until we actually know what the facts are, rather than jumping to conclusions. I know that this happens a lot in domestic situations, and people start speaking on things that they really have no place speaking on because the actual details aren't out there. All we know is that he was arrested. It was due to assault. We saw what the lawyer has put out there in terms of the actual text messages that were shared, and that's it. We'll have to wait to see what actually is presented to the public.
Well, it's funny because we have our producers on this said that CNN was unable to verify that these text messages came from Majors' accuser. So this could all be not real either. So
Hoax.
the thing is, we have to wait and see how this plays out. I'd be very disappointed if it was real, because I feel like I was very proud to see kind of like even the camaraderie between like Michael B. and Jonathan. It was good to see kind of like, black men celebrating each other, and it's not like a slight to all black men. It's just one of those moments where you're like, dang man, I'm slightly disappointed. But
Of course, it is disappointing because, as Chris Rock said before he dropped the mic, don't fight in front of white people.
yeah, we're gonna get into that stand up a little bit later because he did drop the mic in ways that I don't think people
In a literal sense.
Yeah, he did, and it was Anyway, moving right along. We're trying to tackle some of the heavy stuff first, apparently. So
Swallow the frog, as they say.
yeah, so this was like probably top of March. We had Scott Adams, which if you didn't know who Scott Adams is, he was the creator of Dilbert, the cartoon that I guess we all grew up loving and reading, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part. I don't know if I was like,
I wasn't a big
super
Dilbert
hard.
reader.
Yeah, I don't think I'll go super hard for Dilbert, but either way, he said some things that were considered inflammatory and racist. So
Right.
we're gonna just jump into it. I have a clip of him on Cuomo's show, and so we're gonna listen to it and see where we go from there.
Yeah, play the clip, then we jump in.
In helping black Americans. So much so that I started identifying as black to just be on the team I was helping. But it turns out that nearly half of that team doesn't think I'm okay to be white.
We're back now with Scott Adams. You have been saying that you want to reframe the conversation, that this is not the way you wanted it to go. But I do think that we have to take one step just in terms of the fix before we can get to forward, which is I understand why you say that it's been mostly white liberals who came after you. But I'm on social media, too. You have plenty of people of color who are pissed about what you said and feel that either you're demeaning it or you're cheapening the situation. Even that thing about I identify as black, that's going to be seen as disrespectful by a lot of people. So you may be getting invited to the barbecue. But do you believe you owe people who were offended an apology?
No, because I did it intentionally. I offended people so that they'd be drawn to the solution. So, no. Certainly, I don't hurt people for no reason, and I don't think anybody was hurt by saying that I would feel uncomfortable around people who didn't like me. Is that offensive?
We could keep going on that. That was actually a very interesting 9-minute conversation. But what are your thoughts? Jumping right into it.
So I know quite a bit about this entire thing that took place. First of all, I was not aware of the fact that he said he identified as black.
I did not.
That was weird. That was weird. I don't even find that offensive at all. I just find it hilarious. I identify as black, and I'm clearly a. But then again, you know what? Well, I'm not gonna touch that other.
Yep.
I'm not gonna touch that. Back to Dilbert's racists. It's kind of fun. He actually looks like the character he drew too. But come on, he looks like Dilbert. He just needs the tie that folds back into his face.
God.
It's outrageous.
Wow. Anyhow, I guess art imitates life.
There you go. But from what I've understood in the same interview that you just showed a snippet of, he was basically attempting to experiment, and his experimentation was by saying this inflammatory thing. It's going to garner attention and clicks, and then it's going to lead to him getting the public eye, and that's why he said it. And it was hyperbole, but at the same time, it was somewhat factual because it was all based on a survey that was taken in which I guess it was surveying black people who said that it was not okay to be white, which is like the weirdest thing that I could think anyone could ever have an opinion on. Like, how do you look at another human being and say it's not okay to be you? Like, that person has some sort of choice as to who they were going to be. But that aside, he basically was saying, yeah, racism gets monetized, racism gets attention, and in America, a lot of media outlets are monetizing and almost favoring racism. And by him saying that, he showed that that is the very thing that they run towards, leading to him even having an interview on CNN. So it was a little bit of a two-parter. He did it purposely because of the media attention, and also because there is somewhat of a truth to that statement, which on both sides, I agree. If a specific group of people do not like you, yes, get away from them. There's no way I am going to integrate myself with a group of people that openly say that they don't like me. But he also did clarify that he wasn't saying this as a universal statement like this is all black people, which is, again, part of the hyperbole. So that's kind of my feeling about the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that the fact that he said he did it intentionally means he knew what he was trying to do, and it created the intentional response that he expected, and it kind of identified the cancellation lifestyle that we have now, like where people, if you say something people don't like, you definitely then you get canceled. But the thing for me that is concerning with a lot of these situations is like there's a huge focus on race relations, and I want to say this started like after Obama into Trump, and then around 2020 with everything that happened there, and everybody feels like it's their their like cross to bear, right? Like they have to come up and have a feeling about it. And even his thought, like I identify as a white person, I mean as a black person, so I can be a part of their struggles. I'm like, I hate to tell you, sir, as a white man, you're never going to actually be able to fully adopt yourself into that black experience because it's based on how you look, right? Like it's not just color and all of that. It's based on how you look and how you're perceived. So as much as you may identify as that, that doesn't automatically guarantee that you're going to be able to feel the same feelings. So all of this stuff is just like we're not dealing with a lot of the core problems. Listen to this guy and what he's saying. I see that he's willing to die on this hill, and that's fine. Like if that's how you feel, that's cool. But I just don't get why you're spending so much time talking about this. One, and then two, who's writing these surveys, bro? Like, what? Like who?
That's a weird survey.
It's a weird survey. It's like I swear, I'm that weird guy that wants to do jury duty. I want to give me these questions. I would love to answer these questions because I think you would probably not use my information because I'm gonna give you a logical thing that's not exactly what you're looking for. Because what do you mean? Is it okay to be white? I don't understand what does that mean? That's a very weird question.
Oh man, quick side note, I remember the first time I went to jury duty for some stupid reason I did not want to be there. I walked in there and they were doing the interviews and I said, "Look, I'm racist." And they were like, "That's okay." And they still sent me into did not work. So, just that was a quick side note.
Wow. I actually have never done jury duty. I was called up in 2020, and then because of COVID, they canceled it, and I just never got it again.
I've been there twice.
I'm waiting, because you know what? I know like people are like, oh, it's such a drag. I'm like, I'm intrigued. I might be annoyed at the fact that I have to stay, like awake, sitting in a room listening to a case all day. But I would like to be a part of it. I feel like it's my civic duty. It's one of the things that when you became an American, because I was not born here, I became an American, and I actually went through the legal process of becoming an American. That was one of the things they're like, this is your civic duty. I would much rather do that than pay taxes, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I mean, I know we've had a lot of different conversations about this. I know my co-host from Juxtaposed MVP felt really irritated with this guy. And the sad thing about it is, like, nobody really cared about what was going on before he said this.
Right.
No one was checking for when the last time you read Dilbert, bro? I'm not reading Dilbert. I'm not out here looking for Dilbert, bro.
But this proves his point. Not only does it prove it's his point, it goes on to further show how the media really doesn't actually look into things that they are reporting on. Because I've actually watched right-winged news outlets like Daily Wire and actually saw one of their hosts mention, hey, there was nothing wrong with his statement because truly you should get away from black people if they don't like you and whatever. But no one actually took the time to realize that this was a bit of an experimentation on his part. I didn't know that he was an individual that actually has books on self-improvement and he has books on psychology. So he was literally playing with people. Yeah. And I think he achieved exactly what he set out to achieve. Yeah. So I agree with him in terms of what he said. I agree with him again in terms of his views on media. And it just proves his point. That's all.
Yeah.
And it became big news for some reason.
That's true. One thing that I would say that I don't necessarily agree with is the getting away from people. Like, granted, yes, you don't.
If they don't like you,
yeah. If you don't want to put yourself in harm.
Now, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
You will become aware of the fact that Latin kings don't exactly like you.
How are you going to Latin kings?
Are you gonna hang out with them? Because we saw what happened with your boy over there. I think it's a bad idea to be around people that don't like you. If you don't like me and your goal is to potentially exact violence against me, yeah, I'm not trying to hang around those kind of people. Period. And I'm not putting a color or race or an ethnicity on that. I'm just saying people in general. Like if even me as a black guy, if I'm black and I'm in the hood and the hood does not like me, I am not staying in the hood. period.
Well, here's the thing. It's one thing to say like, we should separate that stuff. My biggest concern is that if we keep everybody in these silos, what end up happening is we realize that the thing that you may not like about somebody is not necessarily the real thing about that person. You might have, this might be built on some preconceived notion of somebody because you're a black person or a white person. And if you don't have the conversations, it's easy for that to go generation after generation. I mean, I think the internet has allowed us to not be as segmented, but at the same time, the wonderful algorithms at Meta separate you based on your demographic and the fact that you liked a Republican tweet. Now you only see Republican stuff. Like, so yes, there are a lot of powers separating us, but I feel like if I know that somebody doesn't like me at, like, let's say work, am I gonna go and sit down and have lunch with them? No, but I'm gonna talk to them. Or I'm not going to talk to them. It really depends, but I just don't think that, like, this segregation worked and then it didn't work.
Right. And I don't want to get too involved
deep.
in that because it's not a part of the big stories. It's actually a really deeper conversation. But I'm the type of person where if you tell me you don't like me, there's a good chance I'm staying away from you. I don't have the time to have conversations with people about why they don't like me. What you think about me is no business of mine. I got other things to take care of. Continue to not like me. I don't know. But like I said, this is a deeper conversation that could literally be a full fleshed out episode, and maybe we could touch on that one day.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so, moving right along to what has happened, some of the biggest news in finance for this.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, it's all connected.
So many hammers dropped in the month of March.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's all connected. If you ever watch, what's that show with Flight? What's the name of that show? I forgot it. Dang it.
Well,
there's a show where a plane disappeared and they came back 5 years later. I can never remember the Manifest.
Okay. It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix now.
Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
Manifest, and it's like it's all connected. Anyway, where do we start with that? As our resident financial guru, I'll let you dictate where we start because we have so many things that are connected.
So let's start with the banks, because that's kind of where a lot of the initial things that took place happened. We had the falling of Silicon Valley Bank. There was another bank in New York in which we had that problem as well. And a lot of it was being blamed on things like crypto, but the reality is it's interest rate hikes that were basically, I guess, how can we put this, like a domino effect towards what was happening here? Because and if people don't know this already, it is something that a lot of people should get themselves educated on. You put your money in the bank does not actually just keep all of your money there. And then when you show up to ask for your money, it's just waiting for you wrapped with your name on it. They actually take your money and they invest that money. That's how they pay for their employees. That's how they make interest on your money. They invest into multiple things. Unfortunately, in Silicon Valley Bank's situation, because of the continuous rising of interest rates and the investments that they've made, they were underwater, so to speak. And this news started to slowly seep out, which then turned into a run on the bank, which basically means that everyone that had money in the bank was trying to get their money out of the bank. And unfortunately, because they don't keep that money there, it was not available for people to get their money. And unfortunately, even with the FDIC, it only insures you up to $250,000, and a lot of the businesses associated with Silicon Valley Bank, they have millions of dollars. They're paying people. They're investing from these accounts, and it just was not available. So the government had to step in, shut the bank down, take over ownership. FDIC had to step in. And there were quite a few other cascades that that happened as a result, if you want to jump in and speak on it.
Well, my question for you with my Uno reverse card is, how do you feel about the government jumping in and saving them? What were your thoughts on that?
So they have to jump in, right? This is the United States of America. If they did not jump in, the outrage of the people was eventually going to cause them to have to jump in, because there was going to be probably a burning of that bank. So you've seen what happens when we allow things to get out of control. People start to pick up arms. It's the reason why it exists, you know? So they had to step in, and I don't have a problem with the government stepping in, because literally that's why government protections are in place. So my feeling on it is the government did what they should have done. Otherwise, we were going to see a lot more calamity as a result of this.
Got you. I wasn't really fully following this until it became like a burning red story. And at that point, I was like, wow, like when you start digging into what they, how they ended up in this, it was just like, this is kind of crazy. I mean, I feel a lot of this stuff kind of connected to a lot of the big companies, and just the way that money's been flowing to the tech, especially for SVB. It's a reckoning. I mean, we're seeing that even to like, they had record layoffs over the last like 2-3 months. So
right.
It's like,
and that's going to continue.
As you said in one of your videos, inflation is taking our lunch.
Inflation is eating our lunch. That is true.
Yeah,
It definitely, and it's going to continue to happen because of the fact that interest rates are still, the inflation is actually coming down. At the time when I mentioned, at the time when I mentioned that inflation was eating our lunch, we were looking at 9.1% inflation rates. Today, as of the last report, I believe we were down to 6.2%, if I'm not mistaken, or 5.8. It was somewhere in that region. So it is coming down because of the continuous rising of interest rates. But as a result of interest rates rising, it's causing a lot more pain in a lot of other areas, such as, like you mentioned, we're seeing massive layoffs. We're seeing businesses starting to falter a little bit. The weird part about it is that even though interest rates are going up, the market in terms of employment is still pretty high, which is one of the things they need to bring down in order to flatten inflation. So we'll have to see what happens, because as they raise interest rates, a lot more damage is being done to the American economy, and I don't know how much longer we can sustain this before things start to crash.
Don't say that C word. That is a dangerous C word. My one question to you on this, because we do have multiple areas of this to go in, is how do you feel about people, and a lot of tech leaders kind of shun the government participation in business, but like any regulation or anything like that. But as soon as an issue happens, then it's like, oh, well, that's what the government is there for.
I forgot how that saying goes. It's like you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
It took me a while to understand exactly what that meant, but once
It's kind of weird, yeah.
Once I did understand what it meant, that's kind of what you're talking about. You want people who want government involvement when it benefits them, but they want the government to not be involved when it doesn't benefit them. And for me, it always goes back to when the pandemic was at its peak. I remember when the vaccines started to roll out, we had the Democrats who were like, we've got to get people vaccinated. This is not fair, blah, blah. They were going crazy. The Republicans were saying, we don't want this stuff in our body. The government should not be involved. But then Roe v. Wade came about, and it was like a flip. The Democrats were like, we need the government to stay out of our bodies. Women's choice, all of this stuff. But these are the same people who were saying we need to shove this swill up people's arms because of it. And then the Republicans who were saying the government needs to stay out of people's bodies when it came to the vaccinations were now like, yeah, we need to tell people whether or not they can decide when they need to have a family or whether or not they should live or die because something went wrong with the pregnancy. It's just so odd to me. And I see it as being similar to that. People just are indecisive and they do not want the involvement of the government when it's beneficial to them. And they want the involvement of the government when it is beneficial to them. And that just speaks to human nature. So that's kind of how I see it. And we'll always deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that is that. The analogy you brought there was very interesting because that is exactly what happened. They
It's
just flipped.
insane.
They
It's
flipped in
insane.
there. Well, in another political style conversation, on the same topic, so over in February, China brokered a deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia, and I guess a lot of people are concerned that this is going to be like the silver bullet that kills the U.S. dollar. Um, what do you think there? And I mean, in general, what is your thoughts on that?
It's the beginning of the end, bro.
Damn,
It,
son.
it literally is the beginning of the end.
Not the end.
Seriously, because there's so much, and this is another one of those topics where it's like it could go on and on and on and on. But what basically is happening is that the American dollar is being devalued, and it's going to get devalued because now we're seeing. First of all, we have the BRICS nations that have kind of made their own decisions to start trading with their own currencies. And it seems as if they're almost choosing the Chinese yuan as the premier currency in which to trade in, which is what you mentioned with that deal that was brokered between Saudi Arabia and China. They kind of pushed the US dollar out of the way on that. I believe that there also was a deal brokered between Brazil and China. We already know what's going on with Russia. So that's basically what's happening here. And don't get me wrong, in terms of petrol, which is what Saudi Arabia and China came to their agreement on, pushing the U.S. dollar. From my understanding, we're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of about $3.4 billion in which we're no longer going to be involved in. That's quite a bit of money. And if we continue to see that happen, this continues to cascade, this continues to take place, and more nations sign on, the US dollar is going to lose global dominance. And if the US dollar loses global dominance, it's going to cause, from every report that I'm seeing, hyperinflation, because it's almost as what's happening in places like Venezuela, where I don't know, it's like $10,000 to buy a banana. The dollar just has no value. It really is bound to nothing. It's not trading for petrol. It's already not based on gold. So that's really what's going to happen here. And from my understanding, even Mexico is ready to sign on to this entire BRICS economy that's taking place. So if we start seeing more and more nations move away from the US dollar and even move towards the Chinese yuan, all we're going to do is just replace, as they say, rob Peter to pay Paul, because they don't want the US to have this much power. But everyone is signing on to trade with Chinese yuan. China is already an extremely big superpower. What do you think that's going to do? And from just the way they manage their own people, them being the superpower, the global economy of the world, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to be very interesting. I'm a bit more of a dismal individual, so that's why I said the beginning of the end. But I'm hoping that something changes in the interim and it doesn't become as dismal as things seem for me, as grim as they seem right now.
Well, the interesting thing, the one thing that I was looking at was that it seemed like Biden's administration was not concerned at all about any of this stuff. They were like, yeah, well, it's not that big of a deal that happened. Like if there was something they knew that we don't, which is, I mean, I would hope they do because that's literally their jobs. But that is one of the things that they're saying. So,
So it's almost like situations in which if you show people how panicked you are, it may potentially lead them to panic as well. So they have to put their best foot forward, right? He's probably not making it appear that it's a big deal in the public eye, but the guy gets back to the Oval Office and probably drops a deuce in his pants because he's so concerned with how much he's dropping the ball. So, you never know.
Hey, that's a good point. Do you think people understand enough of this so that this would potentially affect his run at a second go?
The average individual's head is so far up their own ass that they don't know anything about what's going on with the economy, man. They're worried about what's coming on Netflix. They want to chill tonight. They don't care. It's when the hand lays on them and the five fingers just leave the imprint. That's when they're like, oh, damn, I don't think the average person is even paying attention to this. So we're just going to see the effect as things start to change, as we go out to buy things and the prices keep increasing. You see how people keep complaining about eggs. That's when the average individual is going to say, hey, what happened here? Why am I paying $10 for a single egg? Yeah, that thing they were talking about 2 years ago, that's what happened, buddy.
Yeah, well, good stuff. As we
So yeah,
speak
but
about,
to answer the actual question you had, yeah, people are still going to vote for whoever, because I don't even think people pay much attention to politics. They just pay attention to maybe one or two topics, and it's a popularity contest. So yeah.
It's very much what I call the Super Bowl effect. Like people
Yeah.
really show up for the large game and they don't
That's
think
it.
about everything.
They just want the halftime show.
Yeah, but to making a transition to the five fingers on the face. Chris Rock dropped a stand up.
Boy, oh boy.
A stand up in March, and everybody was waiting to hear what he had to say about the infamous slap that happened in the Oscars last year. And I think it was more hype because everyone expected him to say something. So, and he waited till the very end to mention it, but I was not impressed with the whole stand-up. I'm not going to lie to you. I think the slap was probably more interesting than his whole stand-up. And that happened in 3 seconds.
I would agree. It would appear that Will Smith not only slapped the dignity out of this man, he slapped the hilarity out of this man. It's like he removed every bit of this man's ability in life. It's like, wow, Will Smith is like a succubus. He just like took everything away from this man, bro. Because me personally, I sat there, because it was super promoted. Netflix first live special. Chris Rock, who we are told is a funny comedian, and he's finally going to address the rumors, about what happened when he got slapped. And I sat there and I watched it, and what I expected a good stand-up, and then maybe some jokes about Will and Jada. What I was delivered was nothing more than horse manure, followed by him just being super angry at the end. That's all I got. It was one of the worst stand-up comedies I've ever seen. The only other person who was able to deliver a steaming pile of horse shit like that was Kevin Hart. That was the only other time I was able to see like a big comedian hype me up and then let me down. As far as the other guy is concerned, Kevin Hart, I'll never watch another stand-up of his. And Chris Rock is really borderline getting there, because this was extremely disappointing. Dang. The segment about the slap was not funny. It seemed like it was a lot of vitriol, a lot of anger, a lot of him just getting things off of his chest. Not a lot of laughs. Big nothing. It was terrible. That's my personal input. 3 out of 10. Dang. Check out the reviews.
We should have done a review about that, actually. That would have been a funny one.
Yeah, I gave you a quick.
But yeah, I don't know. I didn't laugh through that whole thing. I know I laughed once because he made a comment about paying more student loans than Biden. I thought that was kind of funny. Other than that, I'm just like, what are we talking about? I remember we had a conversation about it in our group chat, and I think we were the only two that felt this way. And then you mentioned Marlon Wayans' "God Loves Me."
Yeah,
and
hilarious.
I think that was a way better use of the hour that I spent watching that. Like I was like, if you wanted to compare, like, you would assume that Marlon was connected to that directly, but it was so much better. It was so much better the way he drew a connection. It was a better stand-up. Chris Rock is one of those names that have been, pretty cemented, I would say, in black comedy for a long time, and we forget that he recently only makes Adam Sandler movies. Like, no shade to Adam Sandler, but like he hasn't been doing anything really of substance in a long time. And the slap was probably one of the best things that happened to him. I want to say for the record, if I had to choose between him and Kevin Hart, I'm Kevin Hart all day. I'm sorry. I would much rather Kevin Hart.
That's a controversial take.
No, it's the truth. If I had to, I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. If I had to choose watching Chris Rock or Kevin Hart, I'm Kevin Hart all day.
I would agree with you when it comes to the movies. I would definitely choose a Kevin Hart movie over a Chris Rock movie. However, Stand up, I'm still teetering towards Chris Rock more than Kevin Hart, even though this was pretty bad. And you're right, Marlon's stand up was a lot better. He touched on that slap incident so much that you thought he would be a part of it. Quite frankly, Chris Rock should have just had Marlon Wayans ghostwrite his comedy. He should have just had that happen. He should have just.
But then the thing about Chris Rock is that he always like the way he repeats himself constantly is actually very annoying. And so I'm just like, I understand why you got. No, I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop.
We're laughing at a lot of violence today,
yes,
man.
Yes. This is a violent episode, and I apologize, but
We'll
just
get
the
better.
way. It's just the way that came down. I mean, I don't think there's anything else we need to say to that. I mean, I think a lot of people are over the whole slap because, for one, I think that it happened like over a year ago, and we watch it be replayed constantly. And I have had to, we talked about it on multiple. I think we talked about it on Juxtapose. Like this is something that we've literally had multiple conversations about. I think some people were very happy to see Will Smith like brought down to the dude from Philly level. And honestly, the man made a mistake. His first mistake in many years that we know of, outside of, some of those movies that he made. But we still don't consider those mistakes, right? Like those are still blockbusters to somebody. So
Exactly.
it is what it is.
Exactly. It's definitely still a blockbuster to someone. Quite frankly, when it's all said and done, I personally don't have an issue with Will Smith putting hands on Chris Rock. Someone eventually was going to have it happen to them because this man was on the side of getting joked about for many years. And, I guess it was just a lot of pent-up anger and frustration. And then we got this terrible stand-up comedian act as a result, and that was that. So, yeah, it was part of the big news in March. This is how we felt about it. No more Chris Rock, please. Stick with the movies or find some other outlet to get out there.
Or just get slapped again, and then we'll be back in another year talking about it.
I thought
It's
that in crowd did not promote violence. Jeez.
I'm sorry. I apologize. And we're getting pointed out that like Netflix really promoted the hell out of this thing.
Oh, they
And
did. They did.
It was. I mean, the first live one. It was.
They did. They really did.
It was horrible.
Yeah. I was not a fan. So yeah.
It was horrible. And if you feel different, please. Let's have a discussion about it. Drop a comment, like, or dislike if you want. I would much rather have open dialogue.
Listen,
And not selective discourse. No, what was the name of it? Dang it, I messed that up. That would have been a good one. What was the name of his stand-up?
who? Chris Rock? Oh, selective
outrage.
Yeah.
Outrage. Yes.
And if you leave a comment that we don't exactly like, we're not gonna slap you.
No, not at all.
Look at that.
Not at all.
In
Listen,
crowd,
it's
it's
a
all
safe
about
place.
love.
We're gonna laugh about it, but it's
Yeah.
a safe place.
Yeah.
It's a safe place. So moving along, and we had a couple of things lined up, but it also seems a little bit more in the same tone. So we're gonna switch over to Cardi B and Offset's McDonald's deal. I give this one a strong I don't really care about it, but it did happen in February. I keep saying, March. Wow. Don't know what month it is. It happened in March, and people felt there was selective outrage about it. And I don't understand why. What are your thoughts?
So I think I looked into a little bit of this. What really happened here is that because Cardi and Offset, originally I thought it had to do with family but it really is just a very small group of franchisees who looked into this Golden Arches code and basically said that their lyrics, the content that they speak about does not fit the image of the McDonald's franchise, so they don't think that they don't think that the McDonald's brand should be aligning itself with Cardi and Offset. However, it was a very small group of franchisees. It was not the overall feeling. They still continued forward with the promotion, and that was that. I don't know if I agree with those franchisees because There have been some other questionable meals by other artists. One being Travis Scott. I don't really think
yeah, the Travis Scott one. I'm like that like what is really in question here? I mean,
Right.
there's also what Sweetie, how do you pronounce that?
Yeah, exactly. And if you hear her lyrics, it's just listen. This goes back to what Chris Rock said in that horrible stand-up, selective outrage. They just chose Cardi and Offset to be outraged over. It really isn't that big of a deal to me. It was, like I said, it was only a few franchisees who were not happy about it, and it actually went against the Golden Arches code, so I couldn't understand that part of it, if it is a part of the code, but you should not be picking and choosing. If the artist does not represent the brand, then they should not be a part of it. But when you have other artists who have music that's within the same vein, I don't get that part of it. But yeah, I guess they just chose, listen, it's Cardi. She's probably the biggest of all of these.
Correct.
So she's going to get that kind of attention, and this is what you get. I'm sure it's sold better because of the controversy. So, it's a win for everybody.
Yeah, and honestly, I think more than anything else, I wonder if it goes deeper because Cardi is one that has had strong comments about politics, and so I wonder if like some of that stuff,
you might be
jumps
right.
in there.
You might
because
be right.
I'm like, it was just surprising to me to be there, but we're at the same time, like when we had first talked about it, it was like, yeah, well, it goes against the family code, and I'm like, but. We're talking about McDonald's. You don't necessarily serve the best food for families. Like, let's be real. Like, what are we talking about? I get it. You have your standards, but like, it's McDonald's.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's, again, like I said, selective outrage. It's not something that should have even been news, but it was news in March, and here we are.
The question is, are we seeing some kind of brilliance behind Chris Rock's titling, at least?
Oh yeah, the title was dope. The title was dope because it's true.
The whole thing.
Yeah, that's it. His whole special, the only thing that it gave to us was selective outrage, because I agree with that. It goes back to even what you mentioned earlier with people wanting the government involved but not wanting the government. People are just selectively outraged over very specific things, and that's it. It's boredom.
So we're jumping into, and this one is one you told me about, so you might need to take the lead on this. But there was a kidnapping of 4 Americans in Mexico. I think it was 4 or 5. I thought this was very interesting. So let's jump right into that one.
Yeah, so this one could be a very quick one because what really happened is it's 4 Americans that went to Mexico for the specific reason of one of those people getting a tummy tuck. While they were there attempting to find the office of the doctor, they got caught up in a very violent, cartel-driven area of Mexico. Unfortunately, they were kidnapped. 2 of them were killed. The other 2 were taken into custody by the cartel. They went through a couple of days of extremely, frightening experiences while being in the custody of the cartel. Ultimately, those 2 people did survive and they were released by the cartel. The cartel then issued an apology and they gave up 5 of those people who were involved with the kidnapping and murders because they said they're for the people. They did not authorize this and they find human life to be of high value. So they actually wrapped up these people and gave them over. So that's kind of where that went. It was huge news. If you're going to Mexico, make sure you know where you're going. Don't just wander into random neighborhoods looking for tummy tucks and BBLs because you might get shots in other places that you weren't looking for them. Wow. I'm just saying.
Wow. Well,
I'm just saying.
The thing that I thought that was a interesting silver lining is the swiftness that the cartel dealt with these people.
That's it.
With the people that kidnapped the 4 people that came, and the cartel gave swifter justice than any American institution that I've ever seen. Yeah. They had those people walking the plank within like 48 hours.
And they took shots at the American media too.
It's just crazy to me. Like they made that they resolved that quicker than we've seen a lot of other things happen. So
Organized crime.
I guess it's organized.
They were organized. A
really-
little disorganized if you have five people that are kind of just going rogue. But yeah, when it came time to deal with them, they dealt properly, and they issued an apology. I mean, what more can you ask for?
The cartel is apologizing for something. What is happening? Somebody went back in time and stepped on like 7 butterflies. That 7th butterfly got us to where we're at now. Like the whole world is different on a different timeline where the cartel is apologizing for like that. Is to me that like
We definitely seem to be in an alternate universe.
do they have a good health care? Because it sounds like they're handling their employees really well. Like I don't know.
Snap! If the
Oh, my God.
if the cartel has a better 401k plan than my company, sign me up, man. I swear I won't go rogue and just shoot people.
It's
I
just
swear.
crazy to think. It's crazy to think. Even like look at like how long the Brittany Griner thing happened.
Oh yeah, that took forever.
The cartel had those people back in America with lickety split.
That's a fact.
Impressive.
There you go. That
I
drug
don't-
money.
We don't promote violence.
No.
But the cartel, upstand. You get a 8 out of 10 for how you handle that. Your customer service satisfaction scores really high. The couple people died. We're not going to take light to that, but they handled that with such swift judgment. I mean, it might as well be.
Yeah, the fact that they identified 5 rogue people and gave them up, yeah, that's the good part. But a couple of people lost their lives
died.
here,
I mean-
and that's extremely sad. Like I said in my original message there, even though I did make a joke, like seriously, if you're gonna go to a place that you're not aware of what's going on, you probably want to spend some time doing some research about where you're going and what goes on in that area. Maybe carry some protection with you if it's legal in that area. But all in all, just be careful when traveling because Americans are hunted in a lot of places. People think that's a joke, but it's not safe for Americans in a lot of places. So be careful.
Yeah. Well, speaking of law, and this one is actually not as serious, but there was a story popped up, and actually this was given to me by my good friend DJ12, and we were having a whole long conversation about this. But there was a lawyer that decided that she was not making enough money as a lawyer, and she became a OnlyFans star. And within a month of becoming an OnlyFans star, she made her whole annual salary for in that 1 month. Her name is Jasmine Jafar, and it brings up a whole conversation about OnlyFans and how lucrative it is for certain people. But yeah, like what are your thoughts on from arguing briefs to being briefless?
From
What are your
arguing
thoughts?
briefs to being briefless, huh?
Yeah, man.
Listen.
Still better than the Chris Rock.
Listen, I support it. I support it. If for some reason, but there is some nuance to this. Wasn't she only a lawyer for like 6 months?
Yeah, but the thing that concerns me is that becoming a lawyer is not an easy thing. It's something you have to put a lot of time and resources and money into. So, did you just you could have probably saved yourself a lot of work just doing OnlyFans.
See, so this is one of the questions that need to be asked. Where did she get her law degree? Because one of the things that I've come to realize is there's a lot of people carrying a doctor title who went to like some random country and got some random degree that gave them that title. They didn't actually go through it, for instance, here in the United States, where there is quite a bit of the way that we do things is a lot different. In order to become a doctor here, you have to hold a PhD. And you know that is at least 7 years of school. And then depending on the type of doctor you are, you then have to go into residency, and there's all these exams you need to pass. It is not an easy path. And when you're done, you're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So I don't know what path she took to become a lawyer, but I think that really needs to be investigated, because if she was only a lawyer for 6 months and she spent 7 years in school, and then had to take the bar exam and all of these different things, and then within 6 months gave it up because she wanted to give it up on OnlyFans, that says a lot about her as a person.
I mean,
but
listen, I'm not knocking it because clearly she's making money.
But
at
see,
the same
that's the
time-
problem. Everything with society now is, you know what? It doesn't matter because I'm making money. Like there are actually people who will say they will make other people feel bad about the things that they're doing because it's like, hey, I make more money. Like that.
This is true. This is
Listen,
true.
if she has no self-worth or value and this is what she wants to do because it pays her, go for it. Me personally, I have nothing against it. If I was a Fapstronaut, I would say, hey, what's the link? I'm going to have to end this right now. I'm going to have to
That
end
was
this.
a whole different route.
Listen, that's what's happening. That's what people do on OnlyFans, right?
But think about it this way. She, roughly estimating, came out of law school, wherever she went to law school, with at least $150,000 to $200,000 in debt, right? 1 month, she's almost half that.
I support it. I support it.
You can't. That's why I get what you're saying. There's a question about like morality in general when people put money over everything. But I'm like, I can't be mad at her. And the truth of the matter is, we wouldn't be discussing her had she not had this path, because she would just go into the regular OnlyFans, path, and that would have been it. So.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. That's why I feel like there needs to be an investigation. Even this is not stuff
Not
that
an
needs to be investigated. But her saying that she's a lawyer could be pure lies, man.
This is true.
She might have gotten this degree from some weird, like she might have written it up herself and just saying, "Oh, I'm the lawyer that." She might have created her own story. That's all I'm saying. But when it's all said and done, I'm not here to judge anyone's life or their lifestyle choices. If this lady believes that she's better off making content for OnlyFans rather than spending countless hours, because being a lawyer is not easy work. From my understanding, some of these lawyers, they spend more than 14 hours a day at the office. Plus, we're talking about being in court, and you might have to defend people that have all sorts of weird issues. I understand it. And if money was the only motive that she had in becoming a lawyer and OnlyFans is giving her what she wants, then I support people doing what they want to do. If she's happy, I'm happy, and I'm sure her fan base is happy. So everybody's happy.
To give you another twist, the producers found some interesting things. She graduated college summa cum laude with a 4.0 GPA. She scored so well on her LSAT, she received a full tuition. So she just banked $75K. She didn't even need to pay anything off. She just made $75K. So, I don't know.
And where was this, by the way? Where did this all happen?
She said she's from California, so I'm assuming that's where it was.
Okay, so she actually ran the gamut.
I'm just saying.
All right, drop
mean,
the link. Unsubscribe. Drop the link. I mean,
she just
you got
she
me.
just got to 100. She got to 100K this month. That's it.
That's it.
Listen.
Listen, if you see some transactions on the in-crowd ledger, don't ask any questions. This was for work purposes and research reasons. Exactly.
Research,
come
man.
on.
But you know what's interesting? But I mean, just to touch on OnlyFans really quickly, we have people that that we're showing. Like I have a clip from Black China, who is, I don't know what she does. She's kind of just she exists on the internet, and she reportedly made 20. Well, one report says 20 million. Her thing says 240 million.
I don't believe
off of
it.
OnlyFans only.
40.
And I'm like,
She was on her way to being a billionaire, and she just decided, you know what?
and
No.
she quit. Well, that's the thing. And so we have a video where she talks about like quitting when she was on Jason Lee's show. We just let's watch that real quick.
Drop it.
Do it anymore. I don't do OnlyFans anymore.
At all?
I don't do it anymore at all.
With all the money you were making?
Yes.
You just shut it down. Mm-hmm. Why?
Because I'm just changing everything about me. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it's a dead end. All that stuff is a dead end, and I know that I'm worth way more than that.
I hate to break it to you, Black China, you're not worth more than that. I'm
Whoa,
sorry.
whoa, whoa,
All
whoa,
right, all right.
whoa, whoa,
Why do you have to say whoa, bro? You're making it
whoa.
seem a lot worse than it really is. This lady said she was
Listen.
making $240 million on OnlyFans. You think she's worth more than that?
Listen. Everybody's worth is determined by themselves. If she thinks that she's
Listen
worth
to
more
this
than that,
PC nonsense that
I'm
we
just-
have by our
I'm just
boy
saying.
Styles over here.
I'm just saying.
She
if
should have
thinks
stayed
that
on
she's
there.
worth- And you know what? The funny thing is, just like the Kanye and Adidas deal, we might see her back on OnlyFans quicker than you could think. Because once again, I don't know what she does. I know she's on a bunch of shows and stuff on a bunch of other networks, but one, I'm not checking Black China's OnlyFans, and I'm not checking for Black China at all. I have no interest in Black China.
Black China
I don't
tried
know.
to rap at one time.
Rap what?
No, she actually tried to do a hip hop career. You can investigate afterwards.
I'm good.
She tried to rap and it didn't work out for her. Like I don't know if I believe this. I don't know why all these people are coming across as liars to me, but something just isn't right. But $240 million does not sound right to me.
Hey.
Just giving it all up because you feel like you're worth more doesn't make sense to me. What is she gonna do next? One missed car payment, she'll be right back on OnlyFans. I don't see this being long term. This is this is an indecisive woman. I remember she took Rob Kardashian and Tyga to court for child support payments. You're making $240 million and you need child support payments? Something isn't adding up to me. But hey, listen, if she's looking to improve her life, I support it. Best of luck to you. I hope whatever your next endeavor is, that it works out. And yeah, I respect it.
To quote Dave Chappelle when they were doing the race things, and he was like, "Yeah, well, we saw that now that Tiger Woods is black, he lost all his endorsements." The same thing could be said. There's always OnlyFans, so you can always jump back on there, and I'm sure people will be interested. Somebody was paying for it, so I wish her the best. But
exactly.
the funny thing about that is like there are people that looking at just like a brief Google search, there was like a bunch of people that were making. Like, Bella Thorne made 11 million, Cardi B made 9.43 million, Tyga made 7 million, and that's probably the hottest thing that has happened to him since, Rack City. Mia Khalifa, like Erica Men, and I'm like, I don't understand why people are paying that much to the point where these people are making millions of dollars on OnlyFans.
Because it's millions of people subscribing. You got to figure. And this is another reason why I don't believe Black China. You just said that Cardi was 9 point how much million?
9.43 million.
Cardi B is a much bigger star than Black China. You're telling me Cardi made 9.4 and this other person made 240 million? I don't believe it. But yeah, if it's my I guess my point is you get 500,000 people, because these are big people. I don't know what their Instagram followers and stuff is like that, but I know that a couple of 100,000 people paying $10, $20 a month, yeah, those numbers are going to add up. So yeah, it's going to happen, and they're big, so they announced that they're launching an OnlyFans, and all of a sudden everyone's just running towards it. The Simp Nation is ready with their wallets in hand. Let's do it.
All right. Well, we got two more topics. But this one is definitely, I said, we were jam-packed with stuff. We had to cut stuff out because there's so much stuff going on. So this is very unfortunate. And it's become a habit of things that we see. And it's a reoccurring cycle that's really frustrating. But if you're not aware, we're talking about the school shooting in Nashville. And honestly, I'm tired. I'm sick and tired. I'm just sick and tired. I mean, so many things about this case were just like, when is enough going to be enough?
Yeah, and this one, I personally would like to keep it as short as possible, only because we're dealing with the loss of innocent lives. Children lost their lives. 3 adults lost their lives, and there's really nothing much that I can say on this subject other than there needs to be change in terms of not just the laws that are put out there in some states in terms of being able to carry firearms, but also there needs to be big change in terms of how mental health is dealt with, because this clearly is an issue surrounding mental health. I actually saw a news clip where she messaged one of her friends on Instagram and said, "The next time you hear about me, I may be dead." And that friend attempted to reach out to suicide hotlines and stuff, not knowing that her ultimate plan was to go into this school and take the lives of innocent people. But I do want to also give a huge commendation to the cops, because I saw the video of how they dealt with this situation, and it was an extremely proud moment and display of bravery. Those men running in there, putting their own lives on the line, putting themselves second so that they can protect people. And just watching that body cam footage made me proud. I think we should have more officers like that dealing with situations like that. And that's really all I have for this situation. It's too much of a sad, highly political issue to delve too much into, but change needs to take place.
I agreed. I mean, even watching the text messages from that person was very upsetting, because it's like unfortunate that people are making a decision that, well, I don't want to live here anymore, but instead of saying, like, I'm gonna deal with it on my own, you're taking people with you in a cave, in a hopes to be like infamous, and it's to me, it's corny to me. And I like I said, we don't want to spend too much time on this, but I don't know. Matter of fact, let's just move on.
Big news, but extremely bad
sad.
news. Literally thoughts and prayers to everyone that was involved with this situation.
To a lighter tone. Fox News aired a documentary on Jussie Smollett, and they call it "The Anatomy of a Hoax," and they actually had multiple episodes where they interviewed his attackers, and I just it's crazy that's it's like going back to the infamy thing. It's like Jussie Smollett could have been in a whole different place right now. Now he's kind of the butt of everybody's joke when it comes to this, and whoever knew Subway was popping like that in the middle of the night. So
that's it. I mean, hey, you know what? Those African dudes, very disloyal, couple of snitches, but I mean, hey,
listen,
the man paid you to do a job. You're out here snitching. Yeah, now you're in a documentary series. But all in all, listen, I don't know how those guys aren't in jail too, because they also participated in this hoax. But listen, hey, Jussie Smollett is an individual that clearly has mental health issues. This man not only concocted an entire lie, he put a noose around his neck, he poured bleach on himself, he got a couple of black Africans to beat his ass. And on top of that, he went on TV and started crying crocodile tears, talking about, I fought back. Like, what is wrong with this guy, man? Listen, these Africans...
He's in the wrong field. He should have been a director, and he could have created quite an interesting story. Because who would have believed that if you saw it on a Netflix special? You would have been like, what is happening? Either way,
what? You're right. He should have actually did this as a role.
He went about this the wrong way. He should have got a camera, set up a shoot, and this was like what it looks like to be attacked. But like, he was trying to go down and take advantage of the racial tensions during that time, and he got punished with the swiftest action. So
he should have reached out to Keel and Peele. It could have been like a sketch.
It could have been funny.
It could have been called Subway Chicago Edition, and he could have acted out his fantasy. Everybody would have been good. We wouldn't have been in this situation. But I mean, hey, the man says he's the gay Tupac. What can I say?
I'm just going to let that sit for a second.
That's it. But those were our huge articles in March, huh?
We got one more. We're not done.
We got more. All right.
We got one.
March just keeps marching.
It just keeps going, man. And the last one, the moment that I'm sure a lot of people have waited for. I don't really know why people care as much, but I think it's more than anything else they're trying to prevent another 4 years of headache. If you don't know what we're talking about former President Donald J. Trump for jackass. No, that's not fair. Donald J. Trump is being indicted. Let's run the clip.
Former President Trump indicted on dozens of counts. He is the first former president to ever face criminal charges.
We have live team coverage from the courthouse, Trump Tower, and more. First, here's what you need to know. Sources tell CBS News Trump is expected to be arraigned on Tuesday. The charges remain unsealable, will be read to him then. We know he's been under investigation related to payments made to adult film star Stormy Daniels.
Damn.
Trump issued a statement last night saying he is completely innocent.
So the thing about it is, if he had just subscribed to only Stormy Daniels' OnlyFans, we wouldn't have been in this problem. You know,
Does she have an OnlyFans?
I don't know.
See,
it sounded like
that's
a good...
why he had to do what he had to do. Listen.
Oh my God.
Listen, campaign funds are available. You got to get your rocks off. I mean, it goes hand in hand. But Donnie's out of here. It is going to be very interesting if they actually throw him in cuffs and actually walk him into a... I don't think he's going to see it.
I think he might not see jail time, but they were saying there was conversations about him being cuffed to like regular proceedings of the perp work. So it's going to be...
in his home state, too.
Hey, man.
Damn.
I mean, the truth is, he literally tried to subvert and destroy the democratic process and overturn the election results. So they're people with a axe to grind, and they already did enjoy. Like, Donald Trump was a stressful 4 years for me. I mean, say what you want about the man, it was a very stressful time. And
Yeah, I can't say the same for myself. I didn't really find it stressful other than the racial turmoil that took place during that time. But hey, I just hope that if he does go to prison, that they put him in Gen Pop, which I know is not going to happen.
Not gonna happen.
But I would love for someone to give him a Trump Tower. You know, like that would be interesting.
What?
You know, someone could pop a Trump Tower and, you know,
Wow.
yeah, you know, but I know it's not going to happen. But
Yeah.
listen, Donald Trump has been indicted. He's the first ex-president to ever be, I guess, indicted of a crime. He said he wanted to make America great again. And I guess this is his version of making America great again. Taking campaign funds and misappropriating them for porno stars. That's making America great again.
Listen.
And that's what we got.
It was a cleanup act. He's like, what's the big deal? I was paying back a friend. You know, so
That's
you
it.
know, it is what it is. More to come on that. I think it's developing. They said it was like 30 different charges that they were trying to hit this man with. So it's going to be hard. I think what's going to happen is if they do arrest him, his running mate should be Joe Exotic. And then
The Tiger dude?
Tiger King. That's a perfect running mate for him. He won't do what Pence did to him. He has his back. This man wrestled tigers, bro. That is the type of guy that two felons need to be as president and vice
boy.
president. So, you know, best of luck to both. I mean, Joe is also running, apparently. So, best of luck to both of them, whether
Get 'em outta here.
in jail or not. But, you know, and that is the rest of our stories. I have nothing else that we have time to talk about today. Shout out to everybody tuned in.
Yes, indeed. This was March Wrapped. Please continue to tune in for further editions as we attempt to wrap up the biggest news stories every month of the year and then give you the biggest banger of a year-end wrap-up at the end of the year.
Oh man, this year, I'm looking forward to this. We did one at the top of the year, but that was the first one. But this one, we're gonna have so many clips to go back to.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting.
Keep tuning in, folks.
Shout out, thank you, appreciate you. Shout out to the staff working behind the scenes, making
Yes,
sure
yes,
the show
yes.
works out.
Big
You
ups.
helped a lot, and thank you.
Yeah.